All right, good morning, everybody. What's going on? Welcome to the Cup Series breakdown video for Talladega. Going to be relatively a quick video, stack the back type of mentality and strategy, which we'll dive into here in a second. But as always, thank you guys for being here. If you want to help us out, liking, comment, sharing, retweeting our content allows us to reach more people. Hey, if you watch these videos and you haven't hit that subscribe button, really helps us out. We're trying to get to 1,000, so help us get there. If you want access to the spreadsheet or you want to ask us questions about lineups or you just want to hang out with us, follow us over on X. It's at FastCarsFM. Then, hey, lastly, hopefully, if you have a good day, you appreciate what we do, you just want to say thanks, you want to send a couple dollars here or there, there's a link in the support tab that allows you to do that. So just like we saw with the Xfinity Series race, hopefully that one was good for you guys. I know kind of the stack to back, kind of came through and worked out. It doesn't always work out, but we're going to be building with that same type of mentality and that same type of approach today. So, like you're going to hear from me, from other content providers, other DFS sites this weekend, you're going to hear the stack to back mentality. Basically, it just says, hey, we want to focus on place differential upside today and really look at the starting grid and find core plays that start in the rear of the field that have a lot of place differential upside. Those are the plays you really want to build around. The other thing that is interesting when you get to these super speedway races is ownership. You can kind of predict, who the chalk plays are going to be, where the public is going to be, kind of flocking to, what drivers are going to carry ownership and try to figure out, what chalk plays do you want to be, overweight on? What do you think are good chalk plays? Or what are some chalk plays that you're just like, hey, there's going to be too much ownership there, or maybe instead of playing, 40%, I'm going to play 20%, for example. And maybe there's some other leverage plays that you can pivot to who have very similar upside who aren't going to see that amount of ownership. So that's kind of the fun part with these super speedway races is trying to figure out, okay, who's going to be high owned, who isn't high owned, who are still some plays or who are going to project well. Then you cross your fingers, cross your toes, pray, you hope that those drivers make it through the wreck and you end up, having a good day. Don't be afraid to play the bad teams and the bad drivers. I mean, just look at the top 10 of the Xfinity Series race yesterday, as far as the finishing results. I'm not saying that's going to happen again today, but these are the types of plays, these are the types of weekends that you want to, if any weekend at all, you want to play those types of plays. And again, lastly, place differential is going to be more important than laps led and fast laps. So when we get to the breakdown, let's go through it real quickly. So in the expensive range, Blaney, Hamlin, and Keselowski, they're going to be very popular. I'm still interested in these drivers. I still have them as high interest. Just know that all three of them are going to carry ownership. So I completely understand if you want to come in underweight on those plays or, find potential pivot plays to play instead of those drivers. Now, I still think they're going to score well. I would still advise you to get some of them into your lines. Just know they're going to carry ownership. So Blaney's going to be really popular. He's one of the best on these track types. Same with Denny Hamlin. They're all three of these in Keselowski as well. They're basically the same play. I would say Blaney and Hamlin are going to carry more ownership than Keselowski, but they're all going to be popular plays that kind of start in the mid pack. So yes, they still offer place differential upside, but there's really some other drivers in the field too that give you even more place differential upside who aren't going to be as high owned. So I still like all three of them. I would, not saying don't play them, just letting you know they're going to have ownership. So if you want to come in a little underweight, or maybe, you think they're good chalk plays, you want to be overweight or at the field, that's kind of up to you. William Byron starts 13th. I don't think a lot of people are going to click on his name when they see Blaney Hamlin and Keselowski up here. Byron's going to be a little bit more of a GPP, tournament play starting 13th. Not a ton of upside, but, the upside's there. And if you're trying to take risks, being aggressive, Byron's a guy you can kind of throw a dart at. Once you get to Elliott and Logano there, I'm just going to be low. Generally speaking, you don't really want to play drivers in the top 10. They just don't give you as much place differential upside as others obviously do. So Elliott starting 9th isn't really a target play. Logano for us starting 7th isn't really a target play. And people like to play Elliott, and especially Logano on these, super speedway style racetracks, and there just isn't enough upside and too much risk for playing those plays. Same with Kyle Busch. I don't want anything to do with Kyle Busch. He starts too far forward. Bubba Wallace, you can kind of throw in the same boat as William Byron. He starts in the teens, making him a consideration for tournaments. Wallace has been a better super speedway racer as of late. But when you get to these track types, like everyone has a good chance of wrecking. Like, it doesn't matter who you are or where you're running in the field. Like most of these drivers are going to be within, inches of each other for a bulk of this race. So if there's a wreck, an accident, could not even be your fault. You could get involved and wreck out. Um, so there's definitely risk carrying Bubba Wallace. Then you get to Kyle Larson. Now Larson's going to be the highest owned play today. He was not able to take a qualifying time. That is why he's starting 38th. Um, just know, he's going to project the highest. Everyone's going to recommend him as a play. Everyone's going to be playing him. He should score well. There's nothing saying that he's not going to score well, but say he wrecks out and he finishes 30th and 40, percent of the field or whoever, or maybe even higher is on that driver. That's a great opportunity to gain some leverage. So I'm going to have a ton of Kyle Larson. Don't get me wrong. But I'm definitely going to be building some lines today that do not have Kyle Larson in those lines, just because I know how popular he's going to be. Now he's going to score positive points either way. Even if he wrecks out and scores dead last, he's still going to score positive points. Versus if you play Bubba Wallace, he wrecks out, just like we kind of saw with Justin Allgaier yesterday in the Xfinity Series race. Unfortunately, he got wrecked out early and he ended up with negative points, even though he projected, very well. So you just kind of keep that stuff in mind. Chastain's going to be popular today too. Doesn't start as far back as Larson, so won't be as popular as Larson, but most likely he's going to be the second or third highest owned play today, starting 32nd. Busher and Bell, kind of in the same boat as Elliott Logano, just, a little bit of upside. Maybe you can take a risk there, but generally speaking, you want to kind of avoid these drivers in the top 10. And you can kind of throw Truex in that category as well. With him starting sixth, it's just too far forward for me to be interested. Now, Reddick starts 18th. I think he's an interesting tournament play. He kind of starts right in the middle of the pack. He gives you some place differential upside for sure. I don't think he's going to be relatively high owned. I would not play him in cash games, but if you're playing tournaments, I don't mind, inching up a little bit forward, into the front half of the field there. Reddick would be a play I would consider, but just know he's still going to carry some ownership. Now, Alex Bowman, he starts 12th today. Kind of like Byron, not going to be super popular, not a ton of place differential upside, more of a lower owned, tournament play to kind of throw a dart on. Stenhouse is going to be popular. He's kind of within the Larson and Chastain boat, good driver, kind of good on these track types, starts deep in the field. Those are usually the types of plays you want to build around. Those are kind of the core plays, but just know everyone's going to be playing them as well, but they're going to project, very highly. Ty Gibbs, kind of like Reddick, starts mid pack, a little bit of upside, not much. You don't want to play too much Ty Gibbs for sure, but if you want to take a couple of risks, I don't mind sprinkling him into some lines. He's definitely in the player pool. Not getting the Cindric or Dillon today. Both of them just start too far forward. And then we get to this range. I really like this range. You got Suarez, Jones, Briscoe, and Gregson. So the nice thing about Suarez, Jones, Briscoe, and Gregson is they aren't the, top name, top talent drivers or even race for the top teams in the series. You got Blaney, Hamlin, Keselowski, Chastain, Stenhouse, even Larson. All those plays are likely going to see higher ownership than Suarez, Jones, Briscoe, Gregson. Well, I really like Suarez, Jones, Briscoe, Gregson because I think they're not going to be as high owned. I think they're great pivot options to get some leverage on the field, and all of them start in the second half of the field. So it's not a guarantee that they're going to score well, but they give you more place differential upside. If you just looked at the starting position alone, you ignore the driver. And you want to kind of stack the back, like those are all plays in the back half of the field. Some of them even start further back than some of the the chalk plays that we think are going to be popular. So I'm going to have a lot of Suarez, a lot of Jones, a lot of Briscoe, a lot of Gregson today. I'm not getting to Michael McDowell, starting first. There's just really no place differential upside for him. He carries way too much risk. LaJoie's going to be popular starting 31st, but I like him. I really like Josh Berry. You can kind of throw him into the Suarez, Jones, Briscoe, and Gregson conversation. Gilliland starts too high. John Hunter Nemechek starts 20th. I don't think a lot of people are going to play him, um, making him an interesting tournament play. I really like Hocevar. I really like Zane Smith. I like Justin Haley as well. I don't think people are going to play Haley because he's in the racing machine. Hocevar starts deep. I think Zane Smith's a great play today. Not a lot of people are probably going to play him, relatively speaking, compared to some of the other drivers in the back. And then once you get past Justin Haley, the SVGs, the Hemricks, the Burtons, Alfredos, McLeods, and the Wares, all these drivers are in play. I think the first three here of SVG, Hemrick, and Burton are, plays that people aren't going to want to play. A, because of where they start, or B, the equipment that they're in, or C, just the experience that they have. None of them are going to project well. But we saw yesterday in the Xfinity Series race, some of the drivers that finished towards the front half of the field did not project well at all, and they were pretty low owned. I don't know if we're going to get that level of extreme chaos today where these drivers can score well, but don't be afraid to sprinkle them into a couple of lineups just because no one else is going to play them. And then once you get to Alfredo, McLeod, and Ware, Alfredo, you kind of probably rope him into the front half. The only issue with Alfredo is we've seen this car sometimes have, mechanical issues or single car issues that kind of puts him out of contention of the race, or they aren't able to repair and fix this car if they do get damaged. So there's a good chance he finishes deep in the field. McLeod is easily the slowest car today, way off the pace, which could either be a good thing or a bad thing. If it's not a wreck fest, or if we get wrecks on the very end of the race, it's going to be a bad thing because it's going to be so many laps down. He won't have enough time to recover from that. However, it could potentially be a good thing depending on when the wrecks come, because if he's so far off the pace, he'll have plenty of time to stop. He's not going to be in the thick of it. He's just going to be a pure attrition play, and no one's going to want to play him. So McLeod's kind of a risky play. You could kind of throw him into the Alfredo equation that maybe he's going to have a mechanical issue. And then we get Cody Ware back in the field today, and a Rick Ware racing machine starting 34th. People are not going to want to play him, but I don't mind, for DFS purposes, starting 34th, kind of another pure attrition play. So hopefully that's helpful. Again, for me, it's kind of stacking the back and then just trying to find those pivot plays. What drivers can I get into my lines that still have place differential upside that might not be as popular as some of the chalk plays. I'm still going to have those chalk plays in my line. Don't get me wrong. If they're still going to project well, I still would advise you to play them. I'm just personally going to be overweight on some other drivers today that are deeper in the field who I don't think the public is going to be as high on. So hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully Lady Luck is on your side today. Hopefully we can hit the cash line and have ourselves a good DFS day. But thank you as always. Enjoy your Sunday, and we will catch you next week for the Dover races.